The Batman. I finally saw it. And I saw it because it took me a while. It's a really long movie. And I couldn't watch the movie all in one sitting because just my days are pretty busy, and then I tend to fall asleep. Not because it's boring. I didn't think it was boring. It's just because I'm tired physically. But I got through it piecemeal. I would like to experience the movie as a whole, but that's probably going to be tough to do. I did enjoy it. It was different than the other Batman movies in that it was more of a long haul. It was more plotting and a little slower moving. I liked how, and I know some people may not like that because they could find it boring. I liked just, I guess the older I get, I like how slow things go. Sometimes maybe it's because time is not on my side like it was when I was younger. But so I like the slow movement of it. I like that they didn't go into his origin story once again, becoming Batman and training, and I've seen all that before. I know about the origin stories. Let's just get to the heart of it. What I really liked about it is that Batman wasn't battling cartoon CGI robots or aliens. He was battling people, and with mentally and physically and mentally, with all their complications. So I like how they went into that. I thought Robert Pattinson was really good, not only as Batman but as Bruce Wayne. Similar to his voice with Michael Keaton and Christian Bale, like trying to disguise the voice by talking like this, and how Bruce Wayne was such a recluse in this one as opposed to like the other movies where he might have been a little more, at least Christian Bale, a little more outgoing when it served the purpose of trying to maintain or hide the fact that he was Batman sometimes. But so Robert Pattinson was good. The villains in it, the Riddler, this version of Batman, there was a film noir aspect to it. Even the dialogue sometimes it's kind of like straightforward, like oh Jesus Christ, you're such a jerk. Some of it was very much straightforward, and I think it was done on purpose just to not be so complex, just to be more direct. Sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't. But the villains, as far as the Riddler, very reminiscent of Seven, with even with all the journals. Spoiler alert for Seven. And these and like the unhinged monologues, especially at the end that the Riddler had. I thought the performance of the Riddler was good. It was a different take on the Riddler because I'm so used to the flamboyant Riddler, like with Jim Carrey, and then especially with the Adam I forgot the guy's name. Was it Cesar Romero in the Adam West show? So I like how they did it where he was, someone just very angry who wanted revenge. The analog to the Batman was a really, really good take, and you saw how defensive Batman got. It's like, we're not alike. And the Riddler kind of turned it around, saying, well, I'm just after vengeance just like you. And Batman's justification is, well, Batman doesn't kill people, and I'm glad they're sticking to that. Batman, foists the burden upon himself to, he brings the burden upon himself to battle crime that only he can take care of, which is an interesting part of Batman's psychology. So I like how the Riddler kind of flipped that, and usually Batman's kind of stoic in this movie, and that's where he's like, no, I'm not, nope, not me. So that was good. The Riddler's arc was good. The riddles themselves weren't terribly complicated, but I think that's I think that was the point. The Riddler kind of wanted Batman to solve it eventually, so I don't know if he made it like too complicated, but I guess just complicated enough. At least just complicated enough for me. So Riddler Riddler was cool. It was a good take on, a good take on a villain that at least I am used to. Penguin, I thought I had doubts with Colin Farrell. I'm not a big fan of putting makeup on people. I still would, as awesome as Colin Farrell was, and his performance was awesome, I generally would have liked someone to be cast who looked like who Colin Farrell was made up to be. There are plenty of people who look like the makeup version of it, so it makes it more genuine. But I thought the makeup job was awesome. I thought Colin Farrell's performance was awesome. But there is an argument for, the less makeup you can use, the better. And this goes with, even when they give people old age makeup, and they have like a 40-year-old play an 80-year-old. Yes, it can be done, and yes, it's acting, and yes, I get it's making pretend, but there's something that comes along with someone actually being that age and actually looking a certain way and bringing something into the role that maybe someone in their 40s or 30s can't do. But with that said, Colin Farrell's a really good actor, and he was just absolutely unrecognizable in the makeup, in his voice, and I really liked when he was on screen. He brought almost like an Al Capone type vibe to it, and it kind of goes along with the film noir aspect of it, as well as like the old time crime movies, which is what the Batman was trying to do. So I thought Colin Farrell was really good, and then you had Falcone, which John Turturro was playing. I guess a typical mafia boss, kind of quiet and reclusive, doesn't want to publicize himself too much, but really taking the reins of power behind the scenes, in that he ran the city, he was running the city himself, and all the double crosses and conspiracies that go along with it. Jeffrey Wright is Commissioner, or soon not yet Commissioner Gordon, but very, very good, alongside Robert Pattison, as well as then Andy Serkis as Alfred. A kind of small role, but just this Alfred was just, you could just tell just the burden, and I would imagine, I hope they get a little more into who Alfred is in the next movie. You kind of hinted at it, and just the burden that Alfred puts on himself to raise Bruce the best he could. And let's not forget Zoë Kravitz's performance as Catwoman. They didn't even mention Catwoman's name. She said at the end, "Oh, the bat and the cat," but forged in realism, as far as her motivations. We don't know too much about her. We know little about her. She is on the revenge circuit as well. She's a little more extreme than Batman. She's willing to do more, and that's the argument that she and Batman have. You can tell the romantic tension is starting to build, how she has a fondness for strays, which I thought was very well done. And then it just shows her prowess in the fighting skills, and she was more laid back than, say, a Michelle Pfeiffer, or I forgot the woman's name who played Catwoman in the Adam West TV series. Michelle Pfeiffer was excellent as Catwoman, and I definitely played up the sultry, the sexy and flirty aspect of it, and I think Zoë Kravitz's performance was, I guess, grounded a little more in her own motivations, and her feelings for Batman are, at least I believe, are genuine. She really has a fondness for him, but it leaves room for the back and forth that they'll do, where it's kind of like, well, you're just married to your job kind of thing. Batman is a workaholic when it comes to fighting crime, and it was so telling. It's kind of like, they're trying to have a meaningful connection, and then, of course, the bat signal goes off. You're trying to have a meaningful connection with someone, and their phone rings, and they answer the phone instead of talking to you, or they look at their text instead of talking to you. So you can tell where Batman's motivations and purpose lies, and he just doesn't have the time or energy, I think, for a relationship, even though it could be a meaningful one because they are so much alike. So again, this Bruce Wayne was reclusive, and again within good reason, because why? The more he's out there, the more possibly people could find out who he is. Which Batman thought the Riddler figured out, but the Riddler was just kind of, commiserating with Batman in that speech. So I like how they're doing that. The reclusive billionaire, Riddler's argument about, Bruce Wayne is not really an orphan because he was raised in this tower, and as opposed to the Riddler's brutal upbringing, was a point that you can tell Batman was kind of processing. And this touches on really the extreme inequality in Gotham, which touches on the extreme inequality in the United States, where I'm from, as well as most parts of the world, where there are two different worlds for the super rich, like Bruce Wayne. Bruce Wayne went through a terrible tragedy, losing his parents, and he had the support that he needed, where he could at least survive. Now, he has his own trauma issues to deal with, and the fact that he's Batman shows how he's dealing with them. But then you go to someone like the Riddler, who, an orphan himself, and just put in squalor, just inhumane conditions, to where babies died and children were tortured and starved and freezing and just an awful environment. So another thing that the Batman showed is inequality, and a tale of two stories of Batman and the Riddler, and what the environment can make people do. And it's what the two orphans do with their pain based on their environment. And that brings me to, I'm glad this movie mentioned more than once how Bruce Wayne could really be doing more, and the actions that Bruce Wayne could take would be more effective than running around as Batman. So that's what makes Batman so interesting. This is a guy who wants revenge based on how his parents, because his parents were murdered, and he wants to fix things. He wants to be the fixer. And so what better way to fix it than to go and fight crime, which it would be more effective. Now, if this happened, there wouldn't be a Batman show. But if Bruce Wayne took all the money he had and donated it to charities, the mayor-elect Rial mentioned this to him. I'm glad they did. She said, you could be doing a lot more in philanthropy to help out this city. He could very well use his influence to back politicians to advocate for a higher tax rate for Gotham's billionaires, to support systems that have been known to lower crime. Anti-poverty measures can help lower crime. Having community support can help lower crime. Having jobs, well-paying jobs above a living wage, can help reduce crime. So if Bruce Wayne put his focus to that instead of, buying, modifications for his costumes and souping up his car, again, it would be more effective than running around in a bat suit. Now, whether he knows that or not is interesting. Even if he does know it, he may very well not want to do it, because there is a part of him who wants that revenge, who wants that action, who wants that thrill, who wants to be known as a hero, in that, he will save people from being mugged. He will, on his own, without any have to follow any kind of code of justice. He wants to do it on his own. And I also like how the movie kind of, you see the cops mentioning, why is this guy here? He's not following the protocol that we have to follow, but meanwhile, he's always with Gordon, and he's walking around with him because Gordon wants to use him as a resource. But this resource is acting on his own. So what happens if you have this vigilante who, what happens if Batman does the wrong thing? What happens if Batman, has a change of opinion to where he considers something a crime where most people don't. So I'm glad they're at least trying to tap into that instead of, well, here's Batman, he's the hope for us all. As superhero movies progress, I hope this kind of nuanced argument makes it known, and I know shows like The Boys do that as well, and The Watchmen, where it's like, okay, what is power? How is it wielded, and what accountability do these powerful beings have? And even though Batman is an enhanced person, he does have a lot of skill, a lot of resources, and a lot of physical and mental power. So I hope they keep digging into that as the movies progress, as the villains most likely get more extreme. We did see the Joker. I'm always interested in a take on the Joker and the different interpretations of that. I really liked Heath Ledger's Joker, and I don't know who played the Joker in this one, but it was pretty cool. I like how they're going with realism in this Batman, as opposed to, like I said, a little the more flamboyance. It's kind of plausible that the Riddler could do what he did, organizing the fringe element online to have a terrorist attack in Gotham. It's plausible. So yeah. I was gonna say something really profound, but now I forgot what it was. But yeah. So overall, good movie, and I'm really looking forward to what happens next with it. So if you're looking forward to what's happening next with this podcast, feel free to subscribe, share, rate, and write a review. Why not? It's fun. And at the same time, keep yourself informed. Always find a credible source to get your information, whether it's BBC, NPR, USA Today, New York Times, Washington Post. There are good sources of information out there. Whether it's COVID-19, whether it's politics, whether it's any kind of information, you want to be as informed as possible so you can make the best decision you can. All right, and you can find me on Twitter at MMAM Podcasts, Facebook at MMAM Podcast, and you can email me at MMAMpodcast@gmail.com. All right, I'll talk to you all later. Bye.